Have you ever sat quietly in the early morning hours, feeling the slow, steady beat of your heart, wondering how much longer it will carry you through this life? It's a thought that visits many men after 60, often in the stillness of the night when the distractions have faded and all that remains is the hum of your own existence. You think about the years behind you, the joys you've lived, the regrets you carry, and perhaps, if you're honest, the silent fears about what lies ahead. And in those quiet moments, have you ever considered that something as simple, as personal, and as deeply human as daily self-pleasure could be the very thing keeping that heart of yours stronger, steadier, and healthier for the years to come? It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Maybe even a bit unbelievable. But I'm here to tell you, as a urologist, as someone who has spent decades walking alongside men through every stage of life, that this isn't just hopeful thinking. There's something quietly powerful happening beneath the surface when you reconnect with this intimate part of yourself. Let me take you back to a man named Robert. At 71, Robert was the kind of man who had spent a lifetime focused on everyone but himself. A devoted husband, a hard-working father, a man who built his life with his hands and carried his burdens in silence. But after his wife passed, and the house grew quieter, the weight of loneliness settled in. His heart, both the emotional and the physical, felt tired. He came to me one spring afternoon, his withered hands trembling slightly as he confessed, "Doc, I feel like my heart's giving up before I'm ready to." He wasn't just speaking about the organ in his chest, he was talking about his will to keep going, his desire to feel alive again. Robert had long believed that desires of the flesh were something he should have left behind years ago. "Those days are done for me," he said, his voice heavy with resignation. But as we spoke, I asked him something he hadn't considered. What if the very thing you've been denying yourself is what your heart has been begging for? You see, the heart is not just a pump, a machine tucked away beneath your ribcage. It's deeply connected to every part of your being, your emotions, your stress, your sense of purpose, and yes, even your intimate life. When you engage in regular self-pleasure, especially with mindfulness and care, something remarkable happens within that resilient muscle. Your body releases a cascade of hormones that don't just lift your mood, they directly benefit your cardiovascular health. Oxytocin and nitric oxide help your blood vessels relax, lowering blood pressure. Your heart beats in a rhythm that's not frantic, but steady, supported by the calm that follows those private moments of release. But beyond the science, there's something more profound at work. When you reconnect with your body in this way, you remind yourself that you are still here. That despite the gray in your hair and the years behind you, your body is still alive, still capable of feeling pleasure, still worthy of care. Robert, after years of denial, decided to try something different. He approached this private part of his life not with guilt, but with curiosity and care. And within weeks, he felt a shift, not just in his body, but in his heart. His blood pressure improved. His resting heart rate lowered. And perhaps most importantly, his spirit lifted. He began to walk a little farther each morning. His laughter returned, soft at first, then more frequent. He started living again, not just existing. And every time he placed his hand over his chest, feeling that steady beat, he understood something he hadn't known before. His heart wasn't just a muscle fighting to keep him alive. It was a part of him responding to the love and attention he had finally started giving to himself. So I ask you, what if this isn't about indulgence or selfishness? What if this is about survival? About strength? About giving your heart the very thing it needs to keep carrying you through the years ahead, not with weariness, but with vitality? In the next part of this journey, we'll explore how daily self-pleasure after 60 doesn't just strengthen your heart physically, it revives your emotional resilience, clears the fog of loneliness, and restores the quiet confidence that makes each day feel worth waking up for. Stay with me. The most important part is still ahead, and it might just change the way you think about your own health and your own happiness forever. When we last left off, I asked you to consider something that perhaps no one has ever asked you before. What if daily self-pleasure isn't just about feeling good for a moment, but about keeping your heart strong, your spirit vibrant, and your life rich with meaning, even now, in these golden years? It's a bold question. And if you're like most men I've spoken to, it's probably a question you've spent years avoiding. But let's walk through this gently, together, because this isn't about guilt or regret, it's about rediscovery. You see, as we age, there's a silent battle that begins to take shape within our bodies. Testosterone levels decline. Circulation doesn't flow as freely as it once did. The heart works a bit harder for the same results, and the mind, well, the mind carries the weight of years lived, both the beautiful moments and the sorrows too deep for words. And in that quiet struggle, it's easy to lose sight of what it feels like to be alive, fully present in your own body, connected to the rhythms of life. You might tell yourself that intimacy, even with yourself, is a thing of the past. That you've outgrown those desires. But let me ask you, have you outgrown breathing? Have you outgrown the need for warmth, for comfort, for peace? Because that's what this is really about. When you embrace daily self-pleasure, approach not with haste but with mindfulness, you do something remarkable for your heart. You reduce stress. You lower cortisol, the very hormone that tightens your arteries and places strain on that muscle fighting so hard to keep you going. You release oxytocin, known by many as the love hormone, which isn't just about romance, it's about calming the nervous system, softening the edges of anxiety, and lowering blood pressure in a way that no pill can replicate. But it's not just about what happens chemically. It's about what happens emotionally. I remember a man named Leonard. At 74, he had quietly convinced himself that his life of intimacy, both with others and with himself, was over. His days were filled with routine, breakfast alone, a walk through the park, hours spent reading in his quiet living room, and then another restless night. When we sat together for the first time, he confessed, "I don't feel like a man anymore. I feel like a shadow of the person I used to be." And my heart broke for him, because I knew that feeling all too well from the countless other men who had shared their quiet battles with me. But here's what I told Leonard, and what I'll tell you now: you haven't lost yourself. You've simply forgotten how to meet yourself where you are now, in this season of life, with the tenderness and grace that only comes from a lifetime of experience. When Leonard began to reconnect with his body, not with the urgency of a younger man chasing release, but with the curiosity and care of someone honoring the life he'd lived, everything changed. He discovered that those moments of self-pleasure weren't just about the body, they were about the soul. They reminded him that he was still capable of joy. That his body, though older, was still a vessel worthy of care. And slowly, his heart followed suit. His resting heart rate improved. His blood pressure, once stubbornly high despite medications, began to ease. He slept more soundly. And with that sleep came a kind of clarity, a renewed sense of purpose that had eluded him for years. He started painting again, a hobby he'd abandoned decades ago. He joined a community group at the library, not because he needed company, but because he wanted to share his renewed sense of vitality. And when he spoke of these changes, his eyes shone with a light I hadn't seen in him before. You see, this isn't just about strengthening the heart as an organ. It's about strengthening the heart as the center of your emotional and spiritual life. When you reconnect with yourself in this way, you reclaim something essential, the belief that you are still capable of joy, of connection, of peace. And if you're sitting there thinking, "But I don't know where to start," let me remind you, it begins with one small act of kindness toward yourself. Tonight, instead of falling into the same patterns of distraction, mindless television, restless thoughts, create space for yourself. Sit quietly. Breathe deeply. Listen to the rhythm of your heart, not as a background noise but as a reminder that life is still moving through you, strong and steady. And when you choose to explore intimacy with yourself, do it slowly. Do it not with the goal of reaching an endpoint but with the intention of simply being present with the sensations, the memories, the feelings that rise. This is not about performance. It's not about what used to be or what might never be again. It's about now. It's about this moment, this breath, this quiet opportunity to remind yourself that you are still here. And as you continue this practice, you may notice something subtle but powerful beginning to unfold. Your days will feel lighter. The tightness in your chest will ease. And when you lay down at night, you'll feel not the heaviness of regret, but the warmth of a heart that's finally being cared for. In the final part of our journey, we'll explore how this practice doesn't just support your heart, it opens doors to deeper relationships, renewed confidence, and a life lived with the kind of passion and purpose you thought had slipped away forever. Stay with me. The best, as they say, is yet to come. And now, my friend, we stand at the most beautiful part of this journey, the place where knowledge transforms into action, and quiet reflection blossoms into something far greater than you may have imagined. because this conversation is not really about a medical fact or a simple health practice. It's about life. About fully embracing the moments you have left with the strength of your heart, the clarity of your mind, and the tenderness of your spirit. You see, the greatest truth I can share with you today is that it's not too late. Not too late to strengthen your heart, not just the one beating beneath your chest, but the emotional heart that has quietly endured the weight of years gone by. And the most powerful tool you have to begin that healing journey isn't hidden away in a doctor's prescription pad or found in the next miracle supplement. It's within you. It's been there all along, waiting for you to return to it with care, with presence, with love. What I've witnessed over the years is that when men begin to reconnect with themselves, truly, deeply, and without judgment, their lives don't just improve, they transform. Take Arthur, a man of quiet strength who had lived 78 years before he realized he had forgotten how to love himself. Not in a way that shows up in grand public gestures or polished appearances, but in the simple, private moments when a man chooses to be kind to himself. When he chooses to acknowledge his own desires not as shameful, but as sacred. Arthur came to me after a health scare, a mild heart attack that shook him to his core. It wasn't the physical pain that unsettled him the most, it was the fear that he had missed his chance to truly live before his time ran out. And as we spoke about his health, about his fears, I asked him a question no one else had dared to ask. When was the last time you felt truly connected to yourself? His eyes filled with tears. It had been years. Decades, even. But that conversation marked a turning point. Arthur began to approach his life differently. He slowed down. He breathed more deeply. And yes, he began to explore intimacy with himself in a way that was new, gentle, mindful, and filled with gratitude for the body that had carried him through nearly 8 decades. And do you know what happened? His heart grew stronger, not just in the clinical sense, but in the way he carried himself through the world. He began to laugh again, to walk taller, to meet each day not with dread but with quiet excitement. His medical tests improved, yes, but more importantly, his life regained color and meaning. He found himself sitting on his porch in the early mornings, watching the sunrise not as another day to endure, but as a gift to savor. And that, my friend, is the heart of this message. When you embrace daily self-pleasure after 60, approached with care and presence, you're not just participating in a private act, you're sending a message to your heart, your mind, and your spirit that you are still worthy of love, still capable of joy, still alive in every beautiful sense of the word. You rediscover the simple pleasures, the taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of the sun on your face, the gentle breeze on a quiet walk. You find yourself more patient with others, more forgiving of the small frustrations of life. And in the stillness of the night, when you place your hand over your chest, you'll feel that strong, steady beat and know that you gave yourself the greatest gift of all, the permission to live fully, unapologetically, and joyfully. So, as we close this conversation, I'll ask you one final question. Are you ready to make that choice? To no longer live each day waiting for life to happen, but to step fully into it with courage, with tenderness, and with the knowledge that you still have time to create beautiful, meaningful moments? If you're ready, let today be the day. The day you breathe deeply, stand tall, and say yes to yourself, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. And if this message has touched your heart, if it's reminded you of something you'd quietly forgotten or perhaps never realized, then I have a small request. Please take a moment to like this video. It's a simple act, but it helps this message reach others who might be sitting quietly in the same place you were, wondering if it's too late, hoping for a reason to believe in life again. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story, no matter how simple or complex, might be the very spark another man needs to reclaim his own life. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, because we're not done having these important conversations. There's so much more life to explore, and I would be honored to walk this journey with you. Until we meet again, take good care of your heart, be gentle with your body, and remember, you are worthy of every joy, every moment of peace, and every heartbeat yet to come. And believe me, my friend, the best chapters of your life may still be unwritten. All you have to do is pick up the pen.